Inflation is cooling and the market is rallying. Did the Fed actually pull off a soft landing? Let's talk about it. Let's do that now. Welcome back, everybody. Don Miller here from MarketBeat with Thomas Hughes from MarketBeat. We're going to review what the week that was and the week that's going to be. Thomas, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Don. Good to see you again.
Thomas, as I said in my intro, inflation is kind of cooling off, if you will. Things look bright and cheery for right now. Do they stay that way? That's what I want to talk about today, Thomas. Obviously, we had a rate increase this week. We probably will have another one sometime this fall, or at least that's the indication. Earlier this spring, or I guess it was the end of the spring, in May, we did a video about position in May and go away. We didn't take the tact of or the old adage of sell in May and go away. We positioned in May and then go away. So far, that's working out pretty good for us and what you were saying. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it is, and that plays right into the inflation picture that you're talking about. Inflation has been subsiding, and that's kind of taken some pressure off of the outlook. Ultimately, what's happened is the idea of recession has been kicked down the road. It's supposed to be here now, but it's not. So the market's been able to move higher. How high it goes is really kind of anybody's guess right now. The melt up is certainly being driven by some good news, but like you suggested, how long the news stays good is kind of questionable. And I think that there are some factors in play that mean inflation will accelerate again, and we will certainly see another interest rate hike later this year.
Thomas, I'm not going to make believe like I'm a fan of the Fed here. People that watch us on a regular basis know that I'm not. However, the Fed, even at the beginning of the inflation cycle, going back a couple of years ago now, Chairman Powell talked about the possibility of a soft landing. The media talked about it probably a little bit more than he did. He answered questions on it. But is it possible he's going to pull this off?
I mean, it's always possible. You can't count them completely out, but they've been behind the curve a long time. Inflation is still pretty hot. They still need to act to tamp it down. We think of the idea that it takes more than a year for interest rate hikes to take their full effect on the economy. The hikes that have already been put in place, not even counting the one this week, have not yet been fully factored in to the economy. I think that there's still a lot of risk ahead. I think that we could see some more bank failures come up pretty soon. Certainly see some contraction in demand. There are certainly signs pointing to that coming up. So yeah, all of that.
I want to talk about something. Obviously, it's been a good week. As we're speaking right now, the market's up big. This is Friday afternoon. Another winning week for the Dow and the S&P for that matter. But I want to talk about something that's kind of underlying news right now, kind of in the background. But I like to dig beyond the headlines and look at what may be on the horizon, and that's the price of oil. As the economy, as oil goes, so goes the economy. I think that's proven time and time again. Oil's starting to creep back up again. I know we had a couple of big companies report, probably didn't give as big earnings as people were anticipating. That's based on the fact that oil did come down a little bit, but now we're headed back the other direction. What are you seeing in the future for the price of oil and how that ties or correlates with inflation?
Well, that's an interesting question, Don, because I just put together a chart this morning for another report that I've been doing, and I'll bring that up in a second. But right now, the oil price market is tilted upward. I mean, OPEC and OPEC Plus have tamped down on production to the point that production is going to lag demand over the next 18 months probably, and that is highly supportive of oil. But let's pull up this chart and talk about inflation. Right, so you can see with this chart that inflation is pretty well correlated with the price of oil. So oil prices are rising all through 2021, and that's the first ramp up of inflation. Then here you see it ramp for the second time up to the 5% level. And then core PCE peaked out right here, 5.3% when oil prices peaked out. all through this period, inflation trends at 5% or better. Oil price peaks out again, and once again, core PCE peaks out. Right here, oil prices have come down, and this is where we are now, where inflation has come down. But oil prices have already begun to rebound because, as I said, OPEC is vigorously defending the price. So now we have a situation where oil prices are on the rise again, and I'm fairly certain that PCE prices will follow it higher.
And again, I haven't heard much talk, by the Fed or about oil prices and all the rest. Thank you for proving my point there. That chart was excellent. The correlation between the two is unmistakable, and even if you can't read charts, you can surely see it on that chart. We've got heating oil will be a big issue coming up this fall. Doesn't it seem like the possibility at least exists that come this fall, you get another rate hike, perhaps in October, oil prices start to creep up even more, and inflation just kind of rears its ugly head again?
Yeah, I think right now the best case scenario is that inflation will just kind of plateau where it is. And in that scenario, we'll still need to have an interest rate hike later in the year to kind of get it back down to that 2% level. But if oil prices rise and inflation accelerates again, the Fed could hike more than once, and that's a real possibility. And like you were saying with heating oil, some of the data that came out over the last few weeks in the oil markets is showing drawdowns and declining production in some of these distillate products like gasoline and heating oil that we're going to need a lot of later on this year. So that's going to lead to some more drawdowns in supply, and that will certainly play into the price of oil.
Interesting to see what's going to go on there. And the point you just made about the Fed could raise more than once. Chairman Powell said that it was going to be all data driven. So the possibility does exist that we might see more than one. Let's hope we don't. Let's hope everything kind of stabilizes, because I'm tired of paying what I'm paying at the grocery store. Thomas, we got a big week of earnings coming up this week. There's one name that I want to feature. There's a couple other on your list that you'll be writing about, but Apple it's almost like oil for me as far as the market goes.
Yeah, right.
As Apple goes, so goes the market. It's the bellwether. It's the stock everybody owns. It's a stock everybody loves to hate and loves to love. What are you seeing there as far as Apple is concerned? And do you think we get another kind of a market rally out of Apple earnings?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Apple's been rallying pretty strong lately, so there is a pretty high expectation built into the results. I think that they could outperform, but really what we want to see with Apple is, like you say, the indications for the rest of the market. How is the consumer doing? And really, like, how is the Apple supply chain doing? Because Apple supports the market because of how large its supply chain is. So that will certainly be a big report for the market. If Apple can't sustain the rally, then the odds of the S&P 500 topping out soon will grow.
I want to talk about another stock. Amazon also reports next week. What are you seeing there?
Well, Amazon's kind of the same. You want to see that consumer strength, but really with Amazon now, it's the AWS story, the cloud and AI. So I think that AWS will probably outperform the core segment and will be the news that leads the market higher or lower. The way that AI has been booming right now, I would expect to see Amazon spending a lot, maybe not seeing the benefit of AI just yet, but it might show up in the forecast.
There's one more on the list, and I'm going to give you an opportunity. I know you've followed this stock for a long time. I've known you for a while now, and I know this is one of your faves. That's on Semi. They report as well. Are they going to get into the AI kind of rush, or just kind of stay with what they have as far as a product line?
Well, they really have an AI angle that's different than what the craze is right now. And that craze is really with generative AI and the chips, that data centers that are required for generative AI. But onsemi has got a good position in the industrial and automotive markets. And there's a lot of application for AI in those markets as well. So I think that could show up in ON's results. That stock is also trending higher. I think that the analysts are underestimating the strength of the industrial and automotive sectors right now. And so I expect to see a good report.
Thanks, Thomas. It's always a pleasure to have you. Sorry we missed last week, folks. We had some issues that came up that prevented us from our weekly
Right.
report. We're back. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy it, just give it a thumbs up. And if it's helped you in any way and we've earned it, we would appreciate you subscribing. You can get Thomas in his articles on MarketBeat every week. He writes, probably 12 to 15 stock analysis articles per week. We invite you to stop by and take a look at that. Thomas, until then,
Remember the trend.